Spider-Man Far From Home will be here soon, and it's hard to believe there has been so many Spider-Man movies made in less than 20 years. It's also been nearly 10 years since Sony announced plans to reboot the Spider-Man movies back in 2010, and it's safe to say that those movies don't hold up very well. So here are 7 reasons why the Amazing Spider-Man movies are no good. Keeping the rights. Sony originally planned on making a 4th Spider-Man movie by 2011, but because Sam Raimi was not happy with all the scripts that were given to him, Sony got impatient. Sony at the time had a deal with Marvel where if they went more than 5 years without making a Spider-Man movie, then they would have to forfeit the film rights back to Marvel. Sony pressed the reboot button in 2010 and cancelled Spider-Man 4. When a studio makes a movie because of legal reasons and not because there's a good script, it's born to fail. A Tale of Two Directors. When Sam Raimi directed Spider-Man in 2002, he was a very experienced director, but director Mark Webb only directed some music videos and the low-budget movie 500 Days of Summer before directing his Spider-Man movies. The reason why his music video background worked for 500 Days of Summer was because that movie used music to convey emotions and what the characters were thinking in their own minds. However, that doesn't really work for a superhero movie, especially a Spider-Man movie. The casting and the costume. Some people didn't like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker because he was too handsome to play a nerd in high school. But what was worse was that the costume is easily the worst Spider-Man costume to be featured in any movie. Not only are the choices of the colors on the costume bad, but it shows how the people who worked on this movie didn't really respect the source material. At least the second one was better.
That if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
The origin story, again. Although it is common for reboots to tell an origin story, there is a reason why it does not work for this movie. The reason why it worked for a reboot like Batman Begins is that other Batman movies before that one did not spend the whole movie focusing on his origin story. The reason why it does not work for this reboot is that audiences already got the origin story from Spider-Man back in 2002. Audiences did not need to see Peter Parker get bitten by the radioactive spider again. Audiences did not need to see Uncle Ben get killed again. And they did not need to see Peter Parker put on his Spider-Man costume for the first time again.
My name is Richard Parker. Whatever lies will be told about me, I would like the world to know the truth.
Pointless and unresolved subplots. A big flaw with these movies is that they have stories that feel worthless in the grand scheme of things. They had potential with talking about Peter's parents, but that subplot could have been dropped and it would not really affect these two movies in their entirety. Peter spends a lot of time in the first one looking for his uncle's killer, but the movie gradually forgets about this and he never finds him.
It's my birthday. Now it's time for me to light my candles.
The villains. The villains in these movies are lousy to say the least. The Lizard is not just basically the Green Goblin with a whole split personality thing.
The sake I might be free to cast off flesh wherein I dwell confined. Would you give it all up? Imagine if he joined us.
But his character looks way too human looking in the face, and he didn't even have his iconic lab coat on from the comics. The sequel fared worse with its trio of villains. The Rhino was a Transformers ripoff, Electro felt like a Joel Schumacher Batman villain, and although the Green Goblin was okay, he barely has any screen time and it's actually less than Venom in Spider-Man 3.
No one seems to grasp the concept of the mask. Free! I just did 80% of your job.
Spider-Man in action. The main reason why these Spider-Man movies are not missed is because of Spider-Man himself. Spider-Man acts way too cocky and cares more about being cool than trying to get the job done. When this guy is stealing a truck, Spider-Man acts like he's on a talk show while police cars and civilians are being run down by this guy. I think Hancock has a better understanding of the phrase "with great power comes great responsibility." So those are 7 reasons why the Amazing Spider-Man movies are no good. So anyway, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe.